I reincarnated as Krillin, Dragon Ball's ultimate sacrifice, and the first thing I did after waking up was train like crazy. Android 18, Lazuli, the most beautiful goddess in Dragon Ball, the woman I had dreamed about for decades. But sadly, I was only a pure Earthling. My battle power grew painfully slowly, and as Goku's classic sacrifice, future me might die more than once. I quietly sighed. Was I really meant to just follow Goku and let him protect my wife and daughter? Then a voice suddenly rang inside my head. Detected host losing confidence. Strongest Earthling training system bound successfully. My face instantly lit up. Of course transmigrators get a cheat, but the system spoke with disdain. You are happy too soon. This system can only assist you. If you want true strength, you still have to train. I quickly opened my status panel and found my battle power was only a pitiful 100, while my training limit was 1,500. I was confused. What does this limit mean? The system answered. As a pure Earthling, you can only train up to 1,500 battle power. But with this system, that Earthling limit can be broken, letting you improve without end. The explanation finally clicked. So this was an infinite power growth system, meaning as long as I kept training, one day I could beat the god of destruction and turn Beerus into a husky. So from now on, all I needed was a detailed training plan and then train with everything I had. Right now Raditz had not reached Earth, and the cosmic era was still 5 years away. With my knowledge of the original story and help from the system, I believed that by then, I could surpass Goku and become the hero who saves Earth. First I needed to adapt to this body and get used to fighting, so I began with the basics. I started with 20,000 push-ups plus 20,000 burpees. The non-stop training made every muscle in my body shake. After 10 straight hours of basic drills, my body finally hit its limit. Ding, host has trained to the limit. System recovery function activated. A mysterious power began flowing through me, repairing my body. I lay on the ground, warm all over and unbelievably relaxed. After 3 hours of deep sleep, I woke with no muscle soreness at all. Instead, I was full of strength. That meant I did not need rest and could train like a madman without fear. So I found Master Roshi's special 40-kilogram turtle shell and started training again. Weighted training is one of the best methods in Dragon Ball. Whenever I felt I could not hold on, I thought of Android 18's face and the terrifying power to blow up planets later on, and strength rushed back into me. Just like that, I pushed to my limit again and again. Then the system repaired my body every time. In the blink of an eye, 10 days passed. Yet, my battle power only rose by 4 points, and that made me seriously anxious. In the Dragon Ball setting, were Earthling talents really this awful? Goku could train a few days in gravity and gain hundreds of thousands in battle power, but after 10 bitter days of training, I only gained 4 points. Was I destined to become background noise again? The system's lazy voice rang out. Ding, little Krillin, losing confidence again. Hearing the teasing tone in its words, I could not help rolling my eyes. Scions break through once in the later story and gain hundreds of millions like it is nothing. What am I supposed to do? The system replied with the teasing laugh. Since the host is desperate to grow stronger. Energy devouring function activated. Current energy 2, training speed low. I asked in a hurry. How do I use energy devouring? The system chuckled. Just as the name says, you can devour energy and convert that energy into training speed. There are only 2 main ways to gain energy. First, by eating. Second, by absorbing objects with strong energy. I scratched my head in confusion. I eat every day. So why do I only have 2 energy points? The system nearly rolled its eyes. Do you not need energy just to survive? Have you never heard of conservation of energy? And here is even bigger news. Once your energy reaches a certain amount, it may trigger a qualitative change. You might escape your 154 centimeter height. Hearing that, tears almost filled my eyes. So I still had a chance to grow taller. I had planned to use the Dragon Balls for that later. Looks like I can save the wish now. I immediately dove straight into the sea. After reaching the deep water, I fired a Kamehameha. A blue flash streaked through the ocean, and several shark bodies floated to the surface. The strong eat the weak. Survival decides all. Brother sharks, become my energy. I built a fire and started grilling shark meat. 1 hour later, after eating 2 sharks, I gained 50 energy points. I opened the energy panel and converted all 50 points. Ding, energy used. High-speed training unlocked for the next 5 days. After gaining high-speed training, my understanding of martial arts seemed to deepen another level, and I became more sensitive to ki. My stomach was already stuffed of getting stronger. And for a shamelessly happy life with Android 18, I kept hunting the big creatures in this sea. After eating ocean fish for an entire day, I finally saved up 3,000 energy points. After converting all of it into training speed, I gained 30 days of high-speed training. My battle power finally began rising fast, and that made me look forward even more to super speed and light speed training. But the energy cost was just too enormous. I might have to devour every fish in the entire sea to make it happen. When 1 month of high-speed training ended, my battle power had broken through to 205. I was about to catch up with Goku at this time, but Goku would travel to Namek in 5 days and raise his battle power to 90,000, then leap from 90,000 straight to 150 million. That was a cheat-level performance. Fully surpassing him was still a long road, so I needed to devour even more eventually, Earth's creatures would no longer satisfy me. I would need to devour the energy of villains like Frieza, Cell, and Majin Buu to maintain lightspeed training for the long term. But that was for later. If before Raditz arrived, I still failed to raise my battle power to 2,000. Then even going to Namek would be pointless. I would still end up as Goku's sacrifice for turning into a Super Saiyan. I kept thinking about the best method to raise my power right now. Then my eyes suddenly lit up. Earth still has senzu beans, does it not? That magical item could even heal dying Saiyan, so it must contain huge energy. I immediately said goodbye to Master Roshi, then caught tens of thousands of caddies of fish and packed them into capsules as gifts to exchange for senzu beans with Korin. After 3 days of mad traveling, I finally arrived at Korin Tower. Master Korin, are you not tired of eating senzu beans all these years? I took out a tuna and spoke to Korin. The moment Korin saw it, his eyes turned bright. As the guardian of Korin Tower, he usually could not leave whenever he wanted, so most of his meals were basically senzu beans. And besides, what cat does not love fish? I tossed the tuna over to Krillin, and he pounced on it with shining eyes like a starving wolf. Master Krillin, do you still have many senzu beans? I can trade fish for them, I asked with hopeful eyes. Krillin immediately brought out 3 large jars. This is all that is left. Yajirobe has eaten quite a few lately. I opened the jars and checked them. There were about 3,000 beans in total. Thank goodness I came early. Any later, and there might barely be any left. As the exchange, I gave all the tens of thousands of catties of fish inside the capsule to Krillin, enough for him to eat for a full year. Then I proposed coming back every year to trade again. 100 senzu beans for 1,000 fish. Krillin agreed without even thinking. I was thrilled inside. Now I had a stable supply for the future, whether for recovering from battle injuries or providing energy for myself. My demand for senzu beans would be huge. I ate 1 senzu bean right away. Ding. Energy gained 500 points. Good grief. 1 senzu bean held more energy than dozens of sharks combined. Then 3,000 beans meant 1.5 million energy. I could finally activate lightspeed training. My heart surged with excitement, and I planned to train even harder at the lookout. After Krillin contacted Cammy for me, I leapt upward and landed on the lookout. Cammy and Mr. Popo were already waiting there. I directly explained why I came, hoping to receive Cammy's guidance. Cammy nodded and said no problem. From now on, let Popo teach you. My heart jumped with joy. Popo was definitely not someone to underestimate. He had existed since Earth's first Cammy, and in my previous life, some people even guessed that Popo was not weaker than the Grand Priest. I ate hundreds of senzu beans and converted all their energy, gaining lightspeed training mode. Then followed Popo to train on the lookout. After just 2 months passed, my battle power had already reached 1,500. I had reached my own limit. Ding! Host has reached the Earthling limit. Breakthrough is now available. Required energy, 100,000. I cursed the system in my heart. Why do you not just rob me? The system chuckled darkly. Breaking limits is no small matter. After all, everything in this world must follow conservation of energy. With no other choice, I gritted my teeth, took out 200 senzu beans and ate them. Then went to a deserted place and began breaking through my limit. Energy from heaven and earth rushed toward me, shining with 7-colored light. Though ordinary people could never see it, only beings above the god of destruction level might be able to witness this glow. This 7-colored energy slowly transformed my body. But the moment that rainbow light appeared, Whis, far away in the realm of destruction, seemed to sense a faint aura. He waved his angel staff and began searching. Luckily, the system covered for me. Hard was tried. He could not see what was happening on Earth. 10 minutes later, the breakthrough finally ended. I immediately felt power surging from my body. The shackles of Earthling training were gone, and my battle power reached a full 2,000. My life level had reached first dimensional rank, and my next battle power limit was 150,000. What does this dimension level mean? I asked, completely confused. The system immediately explained. You can understand it as the level of divinity. Master Krillin is first dimensional. Earth's Cammy is third dimensional. Above him are King Yama, King Kai, Grand Kai, and the Supreme Kai. Then the god of destruction, angels, and Grand Priest. And at the very top is naturally Xeno. As your life level rises, your lifespan will rise with it. Hearing this, I was overjoyed. Android 18 is an artificial human, so she does not age. And now, I could keep raising my own life level and gain a longer lifespan too. Did that not mean I could be with Android 18 every night, training wildly until the end of time? This damn system was actually pretty satisfying. Right now I still had 2,800 senzu beans converted into energy. That was 1.4 million. At the current lightspeed training rate, one day could add 500 battle power. But even if I spent the next 5 years in lightspeed training the whole time, I would only reach 912,500 battle power. That might dominate one planet. But before Frisia, it was nothing. I still had to find a way to grow stronger. After thinking for a moment, I quickly found an answer. Train inside the lookout's hyperbolic time chamber. 1 day inside equals 1 year outside. Cammy naturally did not refuse my request, and even had Popo teach me meditation training. Then I directly activated 1 year of lightspeed training, wearing a 10 times gravity suit, plus the time chamber's 10 times gravity. While thinking of my future wife Lazuli, I began an endless round of training. Time flew like an arrow, and in the blink of an eye, 1 year passed. My battle power had reached 250,000. Still nothing in front of Frisia. But remember, right now, the main character Goku only had a few hundred. What excited me most was that after several breakthroughs, my height had grown a full 5 centimeters. If Lord Frisia found out about that, he might be so angry he died on the spot. I pushed open the door of the time chamber. Popo and Cammy were waiting outside. The moment they saw me, both were startled. Although I tried hard to suppress my aura, my base numbers were already too high. So even my normal state had 5,000 battle power, leaving Cammy stunned and speechless. He could not understand how a promising martial artist from before had suddenly become this powerful. I bowed to Cammy and Popo, thanking them for guiding me, then prepared to return home. When Cammy heard the word home, he froze for a moment, as if thinking about something, and muttered, "Where is my home?" Seeing Cammy's lonely expression, I wondered whether I should tell him that he was actually an Namekian. After thinking for a moment, I decided not to reveal the truth yet. After all, later, I had my own selfish plans. I could take Cammy to Namek to recognize his true Grand Elder would surely let me use the Dragon Balls, helping Cammy and helping myself at once. What a perfect deal. I flew down toward the lower world at high speed, and when I passed by Korin Tower, I conveniently borrowed a piece of flying Nimbus. After all, Korin had a whole bunch of it. Taking a little should not matter, and I could save some for my future wife and daughter. I returned to Kame House, where Master Rashi was resting on a beach chair. He sensed the aura coming from me, and looked confused too. Why had I only been gone a few days, yet my ki felt dozens of times stronger? I greeted Master Rashi respectfully. As a Chinese transmigrator, respecting teachers was still a virtue I kept. Then I went into my room, and began thinking about the future storyline. There were still several years before Raditz invaded Earth. His 1,500 battle power was nothing in front of me. Even the Scion Prince Vegeta later on would only be a small problem. The real threat in my eyes was the Emperor of the Universe, Frisia. Another 30 days passed, and I frowned at my battle power. 30 days had only increased it by 15,000. This would not work. Looks like I had to find DR briefs and customize a gravity training room. I flew at full speed to West City and contacted Bulma ahead of time to pick me up. The current Bulma had blue hair with a hint of blue in her eyes, a fiery, devilish figure, and long legs under a tiny miniskirt, showing off a stunning body. Her looks were not inferior to my future wife Lazuli. When we arrived at Dr. Brief's slab. I immediately asked him to build a gravity room with at least 100 times gravity. Dr. Briefs was shocked. Who in the world could endure 100 times gravity? They would be crushed into meat paste. I shook my head and told him not to worry, then casually showed a bit of my own strength that weighed several tons with just one hand. After seeing that, Dr. Briefs nodded and said it would be ready in half a month. With half a month left, I had nowhere to go. Maybe I could stay at Bulma's house. After thinking about it, I decided against it. Bulma was simply too charming. I was afraid I might make a mistake and train her first. Then Android 18 would not be happy later. So I found a random hotel and spent the next half month there. When I returned to Bulma's house again, Dr. Briefs was making the final adjustments to the gravity training room he built. It not only had gravity control, but also music functions, shower functions, and relaxation functions. It was simply the ultimate tool for training. I walked in and selected 20 times gravity, and the feeling of rapid power growth returned. Then I continued increasing the gravity. As the air around me grew thick and heavy, I gathered all my ki to resist it. This was exactly the feeling I wanted. I nodded with satisfaction. Then put the gravity room into a capsule, and also asked for a dragon radar. Right now I only had energy from 1000 senzu beans left, enough to support 500 days of lightspeed training. Even if Krillin gave me 100 senzu beans every year, it was barely enough. With no other choice, I needed Shenron's help, but Earth's Dragon Balls were not that powerful. Many wishes could not be granted. For wishes that were too difficult, I would need Namex Purunga, or even the Super Dragon Balls. After thinking for a long time, I finally came up with the most reasonable wish. I would ask Shenron to build me a senzu bean farm. That way, I would have a steady, endless energy source. But before that, I needed to train seriously. Back at Kame House, I activated 30 times gravity and began special training. The brutal pressure made my muscles tremble. To protect Android 18 in the future, I endured the pain and kept breaking my limits. After the stars shifted, another month passed. My battle power finally reached 290,000. Already half the strength of first form Frisia. I laughed until I almost cried. What kind of life is this? I really envied those races in the universe that could transform. One casual transformation gives dozens of times more power. I gritted my teeth and activated 100 times gravity. I, Krillin, would prove that with enough effort. A pure Earthling could defeat a born warrior race. After several more days of intense training, I felt my mental state reach its absolute limit. So I took the dragon radar and began gathering Dragon Balls. When I went to Goku for the 4-star ball, I also sparred with him along the way. Of course, I suppressed my battle power to 500 while fighting him. At this time, Chi-Chi was already pregnant, and the most talented half-Saiyan, Son Gohan, was about to be born. The cosmic era of Dragon Ball was getting closer, and I could not help feeling excited. After collecting all 7 Dragon Balls, I summoned Shenron and asked him to create a space suitable for special life forms to grow. Shenron said his power was limited, and he needed a spatial vessel. I thought for a moment, then took out a capsule as the vessel. A red glow flashed in Shenron's eyes. It is done. Your wish has been granted. My divine power has been placed inside the capsule. This space can absorb drifting special energy anytime and use it to help plants grow. If you want a larger and more complete space, you will need to find a higher level dragon. I carefully examined my senzu bean farm, but it was not large, only 2 square meters. Earth's dragon is still lacking a bit. Later I'll ask Purunga to upgrade it and get some senza seeds from Krillin to plant. With that, Earth's matters were settled for now. Next I plan to take Kami back to his true home planet Namek, because from the original story, I knew Kami's old house was actually a spaceship. So using that very ship, I brought Kami with me and began a month-long journey through space. When the ship landed on Namek, Kami and I slowly stepped out. Kami took a deep breath, and his heart was filled with emotion. His voice trembled as he said centuries. I've finally returned home. Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers away, the Grand Elder's huge body rested on a chair. His breath was faint. He slowly said, Nail, I sense an unknown clansman has arrived. Izora is kind. Go welcome him. With Nail leading the way, Kami and I arrived at the Grand Elder's home. He was lying there in his chair, his life force almost flickering out. The Grand Elder looked at Kami, as if sinking into old memories. After a long pause, he said, you must be the child of Katats. Centuries ago, Namek's climate changed violently. Your father sent you away. I never thought you truly survived. Welcome home, the Grand Elder spoke slowly. Like one missed breath would finish him off. I quietly calculated it. He should still have about 5 years left. Listening to the Grand Elder's words, Kami slowly remembered the past. After the two exchanged greetings, the Grand Elder turned to me. Earth warrior from far away. Welcome to planet Namek. I have a feeling Namek will soon face an invasion. In my original prophecy, a golden-haired warrior defeated the evil invader and saved the Namekian people. But 7 months ago, that vision suddenly changed. Another powerful fighter appeared to defend Namek, a strong bald girl. I believe that powerful warrior is you. Hearing this, my heart shook hard. 7 months ago, wasn't that when I came to Dragon Ball? So because of my arrival, the future seen by the Grand Elder had changed. Originally, it was Krillin praying to heaven and Goku defeating Frisia alone with endless power. But now it became me and Goku fighting Frisia together. What shocked me even more was how terrifying the Grand Elder's foresight was. I waved my hand and said, Grand Elder, please rest easy. I'll do everything I can to protect the simple kind, peace-loving planet Namek. After all, I still needed a favor later, so sweet words first would make them happy. Sure enough, the Grand Elder smiled after hearing me, then gently said, child, come forward. I sense an astonishing power inside you. Now let me help bring it out. In the original, Krillin reached Namek with a battle power of 1500. After the Grand Elder unlocked his potential, it rose all the way to 13,000, nearly 10 times stronger. My current battle power was 330,000, so if he unlocked mine, wouldn't it reach 3.3 million? With 3.3 million battle power, I could even face Frisia head-on. Even if I couldn't beat his final form, I should at least escape while he transformed. Just thinking about it was exciting. I slowly walked toward the Grand Elder. He struggled to move his arm and placed his hand on my head. My body was instantly wrapped in ki, and I felt my power being pulled outward. Ding detected. External energy is drawing out host power. System is blocking it. Ding block successful. Power extraction failed. Hearing the system, I froze for a moment, then couldn't help cursing out loud. I finally got a chance to explode in power, and you blocked it for me. System, get out out here. If you don't explain this clearly today, I'll uninstall you, I shouted in rage. The system calmly replied before the system. Who allowed him to dig out the host's power? If battle power could rise that easily, where would I drain energy from? After that the system went silent. I cursed even harder. Just because of that stupid reason. You wasted my chance to gain 3 million. Moments later, the Grand Elder spoke with guilt. Sorry child. You clearly have tremendous potential, but I cannot awaken it. I smiled and shook my head. It's fine. I'll train one step at a time and awaken that power myself. But Grand Elder, I have one more request. I hope I can borrow your Dragon Balls. Earth's dragon has limited power, so I want Namex Dragon to grant my wish. I explained slowly. The Grand Elder looked at Kami in confusion. As far as I know, Katats was a very excellent warrior. As his child, you should have created a powerful dragon. Kami smiled bitterly and explained. 300 years ago, to become a qualified god, I expelled the evil thoughts from my body, and my power split in two. The Grand Elder suddenly grew furious. He scolded Kami loudly. Foolish. How can a heart ever be completely pure? Without desire one can hardly be called alive. As an outstanding Dragon Clan warrior, you actually split your own power in two. That was even more foolish. Kami lowered his head and stayed silent. After scolding Kami, the Grand Elder weakly lay back. Leave the Dragon Balls to Nail. He will help gather them from each village. Obediently nodded, but then asked to spar with me for a while. As a combat-type Namekian, he had always wanted an evenly matched fight. When we reached Namex training ground, I suppressed my battle power to around 40,000. This fight was perfect to sharpen my combat skill and battle experience. If I crushed him with raw power, that would be too boring. Nail twisted his neck, then burst forward straight at me. An elbow strike came slicing down. I flashed backward and fired a punch right at Nail. Because I had suppressed my aura, that attack didn't cause him any real damage. Nail's arm suddenly stretched dozens of meters and came at me. I smiled slightly. I had already seen that move from Piccolo. As a combat-type Namekian, Nail's talent was truly impressive. Piccolo's demon skills and special beam cannon, he knew them too. But against me it still wasn't enough. After half an hour of fighting, Nail panted heavily and said, your strength is beyond what I imagined. But I won't admit defeat. Next comes my strongest technique. Take this. Seeing Nail covered in wounds, I couldn't help respecting him. After fighting this far he still hadn't fallen, purely held up by his powerful will. Nail's body began to change, slowly growing taller and larger. I wondered in my heart, is this the Namekian giant form? But that's not right. I saw Piccolo use giant form. His body was far bigger than this, but his movements became extremely slow. The next second Nail's aura changed horribly. I was completely shocked. Nail's battle power had increased tenfold. I didn't dare act careless and quickly released all my aura, but I was still 70,000 below Nail. His attacks rained down on me like a storm. In an instant I was badly injured, but the Destructo disc I launched with full power also sliced off both of Nail's arms. The remaining energy rushed toward his stomach. A thunderous explosion rang out, and Nail and I both collapsed. We lay on the ground for several hours before my body was slowly restored by the system, but every bone felt like it had fallen apart. I couldn't move at all. I started getting anxious, not for myself, but because I sensed Nail's aura was about to vanish. Nail was an excellent warrior. It would be such a shame if he died here. And if the other Namekians found out Nail died in a fight with me, borrowing the Dragon Balls would be hopeless. System, are you dead? If not, say something. I shouted wildly in my mind. Ding, welcome to call. Please state your business. The system's smug voice rang out. Cut the crap. Give me one senzu bean right now. I snapped angrily. No problem, deducting 10,000 energy. The system laughed darkly and said, it's so cheaply. Damn. This system is really shameless. Seeing Nail's aura grow weaker, I couldn't worry about anything else. I quickly swallowed the senzu bean the system gave me. My injuries instantly healed. Then I hurriedly took another senzu from a capsule and flew toward Nail. At this point Nail had barely half a breath left. I pried open his mouth and stuffed the bean in. The next second his wounds fully healed. Nail suddenly opened his eyes, then saluted me and said, Earth Warrior, thank you for saving me. I lost this battle. After the fight ended, Nail went to each village and gathered the Dragon Balls, then summoned the dragon in Namekian language. Namex Divine Dragon looked way uglier than Earth's dragon, and Purunga's voice sounded even older than Shenron's. Speak your wish. Any wish is possible, but I can grant only 3. Of the 3 wishes, I had already planned 2. Instant movement and cosmic star soil. As for the last one, should I improve the senzu plantation or learn the language of the gods? The first could raise my energy income, while the second would decide whether later I could use the Super Dragon Balls. Just then the system's voice rang out. Ding. Now, you understand the importance of a foreign language. I know God language. I can teach you, so now you know what to choose, right? After hearing the system, my eyes lit up with gold. Then there's no problem. For my first wish, dragon, please improve my senzu plantation as much as possible. Nail repeated my words to the dragon. That wish is extremely easy. Red light flashed through the dragon's eyes, but the glow lasted for a long time. A drop of sweat formed on Purunga's head. He secretly thought I've been tricked. This kid is pretty sharp. This wish costs a lot of divine power. The glow continued for a full minute. Then Purunga's voice sounded again. I expanded the scale of your senzu plantation, and within your spirit world, opened a special space as its vessel to carry the senzu plantation. I glanced at the senzu plantation. Its size had expanded over 5 times, and it absorbed energy much faster now. In my heart, I gave Purunga a thumbs up. He might not look great, but at least he gets real work done. Speak your second wish. Purunga's old voice carried a trace of exhaustion. For my second wish, I want star soil from universes 6 and 7. For my third wish, I want the ability of instant movement. I said the last 2 wishes at once. Dragon Purunga granted them both. What surprised me was, the instant movement Purunga gave me was different from that of the yard rat people. I didn't need to sense anyone's ki. As long as I was strong enough, I could teleport anywhere in the universe. With Namex matters settled, I said goodbye to the Grand Elder, then used instant movement dozens of times, and finally reached the Galactic Patrol headquarters. I came here for two reasons. First, to register as a galactic warrior, and second, to keep searching for cosmic materials full of energy. After all the senzu beans in my plantation still needed time to mature, I only revealed 50,000 battle power and easily passed the Galactic Patrol's test, successfully registering as a righteous galactic warrior. After all, in this era, other galactic warriors only had a few thousand power. Then I searched through tons of Galactic Patrol files and finally found that in the nearby Xianying galaxy, there was an ore called Xianying stone, containing extremely powerful energy. However, the Xianying galaxy was controlled by King Cold's family. I was speechless. Isn't that Frisia's family? Meeting the big boss right away. This was a little tricky, but I didn't give up directly. I opened the Galactic Patrol mission list, and the first mission I saw was defeat King Cold's invasion. Reward 1 million points. Difficulty level 1. For 200 years, no galactic warrior had dared accept it, but if others won't take it, I will. I was already planning to investigate there anyway, so I might as well earn points too. I kept browsing the mission list, and soon another task caught my eye. Investigate planet Prot, and why it became a dead planet so quickly. Reward 1,000 points. Turning a whole planet dead in a short time. That felt familiar. I rubbed my chin and thought. Memories flashed through my mind. Then my eyes suddenly lit up. It's the fruit of the Tree of Might. Once the Tree of Might seed is planted, in a short time, it drains a planet's life force, then bears the spirit fruit. The fruit gathers the life essence of an entire planet, and can restore a creature's vitality. If I got the spirit fruit, not only could I let Goku, Bulma, and my friends stay young forever, my own dimension could also rise. Maybe I could find a way to get the tree seed, then just pick some planet under Frisia's forces to plant it. That way nobody could call me a demon. Instead, they'd praise me as a righteous warrior protecting the galaxy. I guessed Tells was still weak right now, and had just obtained the tree seed. To avoid the Galactic Patrol and other forces, he ran to a remote planet in the galaxy to secretly grow the Tree of Might. But the problem now was, planet Prot lay at the edge of the East Galaxy. Even the Galactic Organization's best starship would need over a month, and I didn't have enough points right now to exchange for a ship. Would I have to keep spending senzu energy to teleport it the whole way? While I was feeling the pain, an alien named Shadama came over to me. Lord Krillin, please help save my home planet. In return, I can give you a starship. And my home planet has energy-rich ores too. I can give them all to you. As he spoke, he took out a black stone. At the same time, the system's voice rang out, ding. Black iron ore detected with energy. Only 1 energy point per piece. That's far worse than senzu beans. I curled my lips, but ore usually came in massive amounts. Counting the total, it should still be a nice energy gain. I opened the system and checked Shadama's information. Name Shadama, Mudclod planet native. Battle power 500 points. After thinking a moment, I accepted his request. Shadama's battle power was only 500, so enemies who took his homeworld probably weren't very powerful either. And since I badly needed a starship and energy, this kind of simple task was worth doing along the way. After a few days of space travel, Shadama pointed excitedly ahead and shouted, "That's the Straw Hat Galaxy. My home planet is there." I calmly replied, "Don't get excited. I can see it." The Straw Hat Galaxy was a spiral galaxy from 1,000 light years away. It looked like a strange special hat. After entering the galaxy, we landed on a lifeless planet. Then I instantly activated teleportation, bringing Shadama to Mudclod planet 500 light years away. I closed my eyes and slowly sensed the alien auras on this planet. After a while, I opened my eyes and smiled easily. The highest battle power on this planet was only around 10,000. So this mission was simple. Instant movement activated again, and Shadama and I appeared in a mining area. There, a group of people who looked like Shadama were mining or like walking corpses. Seeing his own people like that, Shadama's eyes turned red. I glanced at him and ordered, "Go kill them yourself. These overseers are just trash around 500 power." I had guided Shadama a little on the ship, so defeating these small fry shouldn't be hard. As for me, I had the system absorb all the black iron ore in the mining area, gaining 10,000 energy points. Rescuing Shadama's people in the mine, I finally learned that the ones who invaded Mudclod planet were King Cold's family, but this place was remote, so the guards they sent were only weak soldiers. If any direct Frost Demon Clan warrior had been here, I probably would have had no choice but to teleport and run. After wiping out all of King Cold's soldiers, I helped Shadama become king of Mudclod planet. By now my battle power had reached 390,000. Though that was enough to dominate the galaxy, I still felt enormous pressure. My real enemy was the Emperor of the Universe, Frisia, with 120 million battle power. It pressed on my chest like a mountain. Over the next 4 years, I had to gain at least 40 million power each year, just to barely catch up to Frisia. At my current lightspeed training pace, that was nothing but a fantasy. System, how much energy do I have left? I sighed and asked in my heart. The system quickly replied, ding, remaining energy 98,000. Remaining senzu beans 750. Total remaining energy 473,000. I sighed again. My cultivation speed was still too slow. At this rate, in the later stages, I'd probably become nothing but background support. System, I need faster training. Do you have any good method? The system stayed silent for a moment. Then its mechanical voice rang out. Ding, host anxiety detected. VIP system activated successfully. Under VIP status, battle power rises 5,000 daily, and martial arts understanding improves. Senzo plantation absorption speed increases. 300,000 energy every month. Yearly plan is 10% off. I almost cursed this dog system as way too greedy. Then I still bought 1 month of VIP. But honestly, the speed was still slow. Even gaining 5,000 battle power a day couldn't match a Scion's tiny late game power burst. So I used a little provocation and asked in my mind, system, you're so arrogant. Is this all you've got? The system laughed darkly. Want to try VIP too? Or maybe become a V8 boss? As long as you have energy, anything is possible. I couldn't help rolling my eyes. System, I suspect you worked for a certain penguin company. Looking at my remaining 173,000 energy, I felt miserable because every day I was either searching for energy or on the road searching for energy. But besides energy right now, there was an even bigger problem to solve. The warriors I killed on Mudclod Planet were Selza's subordinates. Selza served Frisia's older brother as captain of Cooler's armored squadron from across the universe. He was chosen as an elite super warrior. I had killed his man, so sooner or later he'd know. Rather than wait for death, I should strike first. And Selza's team was called the Armored Squadron. With a name like that, they should have plenty of energy. At that moment, 5,000 light years away, Selza, who was in battle, suddenly felt like someone was watching him. His movements hesitated for a second. Fighting Selza was a beautiful woman, wearing an ancient crimson battle robe, her body covered in wounds. When she saw Selza slow down, she seized the chance and flashed far away. Selza watched her escape and grew furious. At the same time, I also set off on a space voyage to the Cienian Galaxy. 1 month later in the Cienian Galaxy, I hid behind dark matter and watched the battlefield. A battered spaceship was being surrounded and attacked. It belonged to the Cienian warriors, resisting King Cold's invasion force. After observing for a while, I found the invaders were all low-level soldiers, so I acted at once and saved the people inside. The Cienian warriors were deeply grateful. Their captain Scar was a warrior with only about 10,000 power. Amid everyone's thanks, I walked into the Cienian warriors ship, then smiled and took a black fragment out from my clothes. Scar was instantly shocked. How do you have a Cienian stone fragment? I didn't hide anything and openly admitted it. I found this at the Galactic Patrol. I heard it's a specialty of your Cienian Galaxy. Scar nodded, then gave a bitter smile. So you came for Cienian stone too? His expression looked extremely lonely. I nodded and didn't deny it. Scar said painfully, our planet was targeted by King Cold's army because of Cienian stone. I sighed quietly in my heart. Sometimes treasure itself becomes a crime. A few days later, the ship landed on an unknown planet. When Scar got off the ship, his waist wound was pulled open and cold sweat covered his face. His expression twisted in pain. Seeing this, I shouted inside perfect chance and shot a senzu bean into Scar's mouth. The next second, Scar stared blankly at the place where he had been injured, muttering, this is incredible. My wounds are actually healed. Because of that, Scar liked me even more. So I took the chance to state my goal. I need the high energy inside Cienian stone to speed up my training. If you still have any, could you sell me some of it? Scar stayed silent, then said the Cienian main planet is now occupied by the invaders. We don't have the stones you need. I wasn't surprised to hear that and only sighed quietly. Scar struggled for a long time, then finally made up his mind. I'll take you to see the princess. She may still have a few Cienian stones. My face immediately lit up. After resting for a day, Scar's squad flew their ship toward Purple Mountain Planet. After 1 day in space, Scar's squad reached Purple Mountain Planet. The moment Scar stepped out, he asked where the princess was. Right now, the princess was the spiritual leader of all Cienian people. Nothing could happen to her. Guard Captain Rael looked serious. During the battle with Selza, the princess was badly hurt. She's resting now, but thankfully, her life is not in danger. I rested briefly in the room Scar arranged when a soft and weak voice came over. Are you Lord Krillin? Thank you for saving Scar's squad. I slowly raised my head toward the voice and instantly froze. She was too beautiful. The woman wore an ancient crimson battle robe with long silver hair like a galaxy and clear eyes like shining glass. Her cherry blossom lips carried a soft glow. I was lost in her aura and didn't react at all. Scar saw me like that and quickly coughed, whispering, the princess is speaking to you. Only then did I answer slowly, that's right. I'm Krillin, while inwardly slapping myself twice. This was way too embarrassing. I was a master with 400,000 battle power, yet I had lost my composure and I felt a little guilty toward my future wife. Lazuli. The woman bowed slightly to me. On behalf of all Cienian people, I sincerely thank you. This time I calmly accepted her gratitude. And her information. Name Zaire Race Cienian. Battle power 150,000, so she was the Cienian princess, and her battle power was actually 150,000. Then Scar handed me a small box. I slowly opened it. Sure enough, it was Cienian stone as the system sounded ding. Detected. Complete Cienian stone contains 50,000 energy. I was stunned. One small piece had 50,000 energy. No wonder King Cold's army wanted it. I had finally found Cienian stone, and the weight in my heart dropped. After sending Zaire and Scar away, I lay on the bed and drifted off. After several battles in a row, I was exhausted. Rarely, I even had a dream. In the dream, I returned to Earth, standing inside a massive valley. Suddenly, a huge blast of energy flashed, and the entire valley was flattened, leaving only 3 sleep pods behind. I stared at the pods, shocked deep inside. Is Android 18 about to wake up? My face filled with disbelief. One of the sleep pods slowly opened, and a beautiful figure gradually stood up. Short golden hair, blue eyes, denim clothes, showing off her flawless figure. Lazuli's face was charming yet cold, her beautiful eyes clear as water. But when she looked at me, they were full of ice. She calmly said, get out. Go find your Zaire. Then Lazuli gathered an extremely powerful energy blast in her hand and fired it at me. I let out a painful scream and turned straight into minced meat. I woke up drenched in sweat and gasping hard. Normally, someone at my level shouldn't have nightmares, and this dream felt far too real. So was this because I thought about it too much? I fell for Zaire during the day, then got punished by my wife in a dream at night. Honestly, before meeting Zaire, I thought Lazuli alone was enough, but the elf-like Zaire seemed to make me fall in love early. Should I choose Zaire or Lazuli? I stayed silent for a long time, then suddenly cursed, only kids make choices. I want them all before Lazuli wakes up. I must gain even stronger battle power. Only then will I be qualified to pursue and protect Lazuli. Early the next morning, I asked to meet Princess Zaire. This time she wore a crimson dress. Her silver hair and crystal eyes gave her a naturally perfect aura. Zaire, try this, it should help your injuries. I took a senzu bean from a capsule and spoke to Zaire. Zaire reached out and took the bean. My fingertips accidentally touched her palm, smooth like silk and snow, with a cool jade-like feeling that stirred ripples in my heart. Zaire slowly opened her cherry blossom, glossy lips, and put the senzu bean in her mouth. A moment later she opened her eyes, and her face looked much livelier. Even her eyes had a brighter glow, but I still noticed Zaire's body was a little weak. I asked anxiously, even the senzu didn't fully heal you? Zaire gently nodded. My physical wounds are fully healed, but the mental damage remains. Why was your mind hurt so badly? I couldn't help asking. Zaire's voice was clear and gentle. She explained I met Salza while searching for the Mother Star. Luckily Salza got distracted during the fight, so I used my spatial ability to escape, but my spirit still suffered very serious damage. My heart tightened, seeing Zaire's sad and guilty expression. I immediately called the system in my heart. System, are you dead? If not, come say something. Ding, sensing the host's urgent call. This system will reluctantly hear you out. The system was still as shameless as ever. Do you have a way to heal mental damage? I asked angrily. After a short silence the system said mental damage. That's simple. It only costs 50,000 energy to heal. Damn it. So that silence was you calculating the price. Why don't you just rob me? Do you know how much 50,000 energy is? I worked so long to save that, and now you'll burn it all at once. I immediately got anxious. The system coughed, then laughed and said, don't rush. Let me finish first. 50,000 energy not only heals the mental damage, but also helps her break through her current mental limit. That sounded pretty good. So this dog system could still be bargained with. Add a little more. Come on system, for extra rewards. I had no shame left, but the system completely ignored me. I nearly wanted to cry. Other people's systems destroy worlds and act cool. Why is mine so annoyingly cheap? With no choice I accepted the system's demand. 50,000 energy deducted. The system sent me the mental healing method. First, it only works within 3 meters, and the treatment takes about 30 minutes. My eyes lit up. Isn't this the perfect chance to be alone? So I said to Zaire with a serious face. According to Earth's martial arts master, Master Mutato's research, mental injuries shouldn't be kept indoors too long. Walking outside more helps mental power recover faster. Zaire widened her eyes, feeling a little confused. Why had she never heard this theory? But because of my powerful strength, Zaire still believed what I said. Then let's go for a walk. Zaire stood and passed beside me. Walking outside, a faint fragrance slowly drifted into my nose, refreshing my heart. I followed her out. Right now, only Zaire and I were left in the whole garden. Stayed within 3 meters. Zaire's mental damage had not recovered. After a few steps, her mind stung like it was pierced by needles. Fine sweat covered her delicate face. Seeing this hurt my heart, so I told the system hurry and start healing. The next second from me as the center, the system released healing ripples outward. Zaire suddenly felt a cool sensation rise, and her mental recovery speed increased over 100 times. The stabbing pain slowly disappeared. Zaire's tightly furrowed brows relaxed. I was delighted this dog system may be cheap, but it really was pretty amazing. As the pain vanished, Zaire smiled a little. I stepped closer to her and held Zaire's small hand swaying in the wind. Zaire's heart began pounding fast, and a blush flashed across her face. She was surprised to find that holding my hand made her mental power recover even faster. So Zaire didn't pull away. I looked into Zaire's eyes and said firmly, I'll do everything I can to bring peace back to your home. Hearing the certainty in my voice, Zaire's heart warmed. She felt she finally had someone to lean on and could relax just a little. Soon the system's first treatment ended. Zaire's mental power recovered halfway, but my wallet was empty again. The 100,000 plus energy I saved with effort was used to heal Zaire's mind, and half vanished at once, so I had to find even more energy. So I found Scar and asked, do your people still have more Xianying stones? Scar nodded. Xianying stone is produced by our galaxy after all. Every resident has at least some stored away. My eyes instantly shone. Can I trade senzu beans for Xianying stones? Scar grew excited, of course. Senzu beans can heal injuries instantly. Having one is like having another life. They're much more useful than Xianying stone. If you're willing to trade them, we'd be thrilled. I immediately took out a small cloth bag and asked Scar to trade with the residents. Inside were about 100 senzu beans. 100 beans held around 50,000 energy, while every Xianying stone contained at least thousands or even tens of thousands. No matter what, I would profit. And the senzu beans in my plantation would mature in another month. The 50 beans I kept were enough for emergencies. Scar's eyes burned with excitement as he said, the guards should really need senzu beans. I'll go trade right now. After speaking, Scar carefully placed the beans inside his clothes and flew toward Rail's housing area. When the fighters heard how miraculous senzu beans were, they rushed to trade. After just half an hour, Scar returned holding a pile of Xianying stones. Ding detected 500,000 energy. I grinned so hard I couldn't close my mouth. I thought 200,000 would already be good, but 500,000 was enough for a month and a half of training. Deep at night I thought of my main wife Lazuli and my little wife Zaire's stunning beauty. While meditating under lightspeed training, my battle power rose like crazy. It felt amazing. Early next morning I found Zaire for another walk and began the second treatment. The clever Zaire had already realized yesterday that her fast mental recovery definitely had something to do with me. So today she took my hand herself. As we walked through the morning park, Zaire lowered her head shyly. The second treatment basically healed Zaire's injuries. I looked at her gently and said, I want to give you a gift. Can you close your eyes first? Zaire obediently sat down and closed her eyes. I silently called, System, help Zaire break through her mental limit. The next second from me as the center, powerful energy waves spread out and resonated with Zaire's mental power. Her mental power slowly grew, bringing tiny waves of pain. That made Zaire's body tremble. Sweat also appeared on her arms. Her crimson dress was slowly soaked through. I looked at Zaire and swallowed hard. Who could withstand this? After about 2 hours, the system's energy waves grew faint. Zaire finally broke through her mental limit, but now she was soft like she had no bones and fell straight into my arms. A faint fragrance rushed toward me, and I became flustered too. Using my clothes to wipe her forehead, I whispered, "You're exhausted, aren't you?" Zaire gave a sweet smile, then directly fell asleep. Just like that, I held Zaire's soft body and fell asleep deep in the park. Meanwhile, the princess guards were going insane. Princess Zaire had disappeared for 10 whole hours. Guard Captain Rail was ready to mobilize starships and search nearby galaxies. A few more hours passed. Zaire stretched lazily in my arms. I haven't slept this peacefully in so long. It felt like returning to father's embrace. She slowly opened her eyes and saw herself held in my arms. Her face instantly turned crimson, but she didn't break away from me. Instead, she buried her little head in my chest, too shy to look at me. I tried hard to hold back and said to Zaire, "I just sensed your people gathering in the square. Is something important happening?" Zaire immediately lifted her head. "Oh no, I must have been gone too long. They couldn't find me," and activated the final rescue force. Said that, I realized I may have made a small mistake, but it wasn't serious. We could still rush back in time. I let Zaire go so she could stand, but Zaire didn't move at all. She looked at me with watery eyes, her little mouth pouting, and said sadly, "My feet are numb." My eyes curved into a smile. "Then I'll carry you back." Zaire blushed and softly agreed. At that moment, she completely forgot. She clearly had the power to open space gates. I gently carried Zaire and flew to the square, where the guards had gathered. Scar saw me land and first looked confused, but then he saw Princess Zaire in my arms, and instantly turned from worry to joy. Zaire quickly told me, "Put me down now." "Princess, where did you go? We were so worried." Scar asked anxiously. Zaire's face turned red again. Then she explained, "My mental power has fully recovered and reached a breakthrough chance, so I chose to break through and forgot to inform the guards." Scar and the others understood, their faces filled with surprise. The princess broke through again, as expected of the king's daughter. Scar immediately ordered the search cancelled, but I noticed, when many guards left, they looked at me coldly, their eyes filled with hostility. Even Scar looked at me with suspicion. His feeling rose in his heart. I gave a wicked grin, then vanished with instant movement, appearing inside Zaire's private room. Zaire's eyes were filled with tears as she looked at me wronged. I knew Scar mentioning the Cienian king had stirred up Zaire's painful memories. I hugged Zaire and gently patted her back, like comforting a child, then softly told her, "From now on, I'll carry your burdens with you." Zaire fell asleep under my gentle comfort. This girl had carried too much alone for too long. Time slips away like fine sand. During these 10 days, Zaire and I were like a new couple, staying close every single day. That day I was feeding Zaire grapes when Scar suddenly rushed in, reporting, "Princess, the outer migrants sent news. Jupiter has appeared again." When Zaire heard about Jupiter, she closed her eyes and sensed it with all her mental power. Moments later, pale-faced, she ordered everyone prepare. "We leave today to search for Jupiter." Seeing Zaire so weak and helpless, my heart ached and I kissed her. Then said gently, "I'm already half Cienian now, so this time searching for Jupiter. Let me go with you." Zaire hugged me tightly. "The enemy is the powerful armored squadron. I don't want you in danger." I stroked Zaire's soft hair and smiled, "Silly girl. My main reason for coming here was to find energy and deal with Selza along the way. The armored squadron before me is nothing but weak trash." Zaire was still worried. "Selza has nearly 200,000 battle power." I pinched Zaire's little face and laughed. "Your husband has 470,000 battle power now." Zaire's eyes opened wide, unable to believe I was that strong. I held Zaire's beautiful face and said word by word, "Now can you relax?" The little girl instantly brightened, her cherry blossom lips shining softly as they gently pressed onto mine. The next day in the square, Zaire's clear voice rang out, rallying everyone before battle. "This time we will win. Once we reclaim Jupiter, all Cienian people will be free." The Cienian citizens below grew excited. Cheers of "Long live the princess" rang out. Go. Zaire gave the final order. As I looked at Zaire on stage, her eyes held a bloodthirsty chill. That was probably something Zaire had developed only after countless brutal battles. If I hadn't met Zaire and warmed her heart with gentleness, that bloodthirsty coldness might have stayed carved in her bones. Right after Zaire said go, I teleported ahead into the spaceship. Scar learned I had nearly 500,000 battle power and was willing to help them. So excited he could barely speak. The spaceship rose into the sky, passed through Purple Mountain's atmosphere, and flew toward the wormhole on the other side of space. The ugly alien door asked Selza, "Captain Selza, will Zaire really come?" Selza smiled wickedly. "She'll definitely come. My fake news lured her last time, and this time Jupiter truly appeared." Selza sat on Parrot Main Star, staring toward the red giant at the system center. His heart burned with greed. Using only Cienian Galaxy's ores, his battle power could rise over tenfold, though it was only temporary. If he obtained Jupiter, his battle power could grow tenfold forever. Selza licked his lips, his eyes glowing with evil. "Zaire, hurry over. After all, only you can activate Jupiter." Soon the Cienian ship reached their galaxy and was instantly detected by Selza's forces. I squeezed Zaire's small hand and gave her a reassuring look, then took over command completely. I lowered my voice and said firmly, "Head for the red giant. Any patrol ships on the way, shoot them down." Everyone relaxed a little at my words. After all, I was the strongest one here, and basically they're half king now. Most patrols in the system were just small fry, and the guards destroyed them with ease. Dor watched the Cienian ship draw closer to the red giant after killing so many of their soldiers. orders. He said, hot-blooded captain, let me finish them. Salza smiled mysteriously. Space is not our battlefield. We'll deal with them on the Red Giant. The Red Giant was the former Cyanian planet. After a supernova eruption, it became a red giant remnant with an extremely harsh environment, but only for the weak. For true fighters, it wasn't a huge problem. My spaceship led the way, with the others following close behind. Suddenly, several powerful energy blasts erupted below, flying toward the ships behind me. Just as the ships were about to be hit, I flashed into outer space, and with one casual wave, erased the incoming energy blasts. I looked coldly at the attackers below, as 3 aliens slowly walked out. It was the legendary Cooler Armored Squadron, with around 170,000 battle power. They seem a bit overrated, I mocked inside. The ship landed on the Red Giant, and Zaire leaned beside me. Salza looked at Zaire, his eyes filled with greed. I caught that look instantly and got angry. Dare stare at my wife. Believe me, I'll dig your eyes out. Salza pressed the scanner beside his eye, and after reading only 50,000 battle power, he breathed in relief. You're weaker than Zaire. What are you acting tough for? I sneered. My body flashed at high speed. Rapid kicks sent the armored squadron flying like kites with broken strings. Salza endured the pain in his body and slowly stood up, glaring at me viciously. He pressed the scanner again, still 50,000. How is that possible? How can 50,000 trash hurt me? Is this broken scanner useless? He angrily smashed the scanner away. I suddenly turned back and asked Zaire how long until Jupiter appears. Zaire sensed with closed eyes, then said 5 minutes. I smiled wickedly. 5 minutes is enough to play you to death. Using ghost-like movement, I kept toying with Salza's group. Suddenly Zaire shouted, Jupiter is here. Then her whole body slowly floated upward. Zaire hovered in the sky, murmuring ancient mysterious words as white light emerged around her. Seeing this scene, the guards were full of excitement and roared with joy. Dor saw my overwhelming strength and already wanted to escape, but Salza was unwilling. He still had a trump card, so Salza gave Dor a look. Dor gritted his teeth and charged at me himself. He had nearly 200,000 battle power and was fighting with his life now, so I couldn't instantly kill him. Seeing Dor's faint sinister smile, an uneasy feeling rose in my heart. Zaire was floating in midair, eyes closed as she guided Jupiter with her mind. Salza hid off to the side, secretly using Cyanian galaxies, pure high-energy ore. His strength surged nearly tenfold, but he didn't choose to rescue Dor. Instead, he stayed hidden, waiting for Zaire to summon Jupiter. With a loud cracking boom, a larger fissure split the ground. Jupiter released an even deeper red glow, flooding the sky of Cyanian galaxy. Seeing this, Salza's heart filled with uncontrollable greed, and a supercharged blast fired at Zaire. Zaire snapped back from her joy. Seeing the energy blast rushing toward her, she tried to use space power to escape, but her body seemed frozen in place, and she couldn't move at all. I thought this is bad, and instantly fired a full-power Kamehameha to swallow Dor. Without the slightest hesitation, I used instant movement and appeared before Zaire. The fierce energy blast smashed into my chest, forcing me to spray blood. Salza's current battle power was at least over 1,000,000. I knew I couldn't delay. I had to get Zaire and the others away. Enduring the pain, I released Solar Flare. Salza was also the type who tracked battle through vision, so the blinding light instantly stole his sight. I grabbed Zaire at once and teleported to Scar's ship, then with trembling hands took out a Senzu bean and slowly chewed it down. While opening the system to check Salza's stats, his battle power had already reached 1.5 million. But even so, I'll kill you today. Anyone who dares hurt Zaire gets sent straight to King Yema. I knew Salza's 1.5 million power would not last forever, so with movement skills and Senzu recovery, I kept wearing him down. However, the huge gap in power kept injuring me. Zaire suddenly appeared on the battlefield, holding a crimson crystal. Her eyes were filled with bloodthirsty coldness. Just as I tried to stop Zaire from joining, the system's voice rang beside my ear. Zaire is fighting for you. After this, she will be reborn pure, with Jupiter's power. From the unknown crimson crystal, Zaire grew much stronger and fought Salza evenly. I guessed this was Jupiter's power. In the end, with Zaire and me together, Salza was split in two by my Destructo Disc. His men fled in panic, and I couldn't be bothered to chase. All I cared about was unconscious Zaire and the leftover Cyanian ore. Salza relied on those ores to increase his battle power 10 times at once, so there had to be plenty of Cyanian stone. After settling the sleeping Zaire, I teleported to the warehouse storing the stone's ding. Energy gained 10.5 million. Even the system's voice seemed to tremble. There was actually this much energy. I was stunned too. Now I could spend wildly without fear. After collecting every Cyanian stone, I returned to the ship and waited for Zaire to wake. After sleeping for several hours, Zaire finally woke up. She looked at the crimson crystal and murmured, so this is Jupiter. Just to protect this, our entire clan was slaughtered. Zaire directly handed Jupiter to me. I took the crimson crystal and let the system inspect it, but the system only gave one line of description: a key to an unknown place. My heart churned in disbelief. All this trouble for just a key. I handed Jupiter back to Zaire and asked, how do we use it? Zaire took Jupiter, thought for a moment, then said, Jupiter's light never grows and never fades. It is ancient, eternal, unchanged. When Jupiter descends, the power of space-time follows. I thought about it and understood none of it. But now that Jupiter was in hand, it was time to return to Purple Mountain and pick up the remaining people. The ship returned, and cheers of long live the princess shook the sky. After a grand victory banquet ended, Zaire brought me to her palace, planning to bathe and rest for the night, when Jupiter suddenly lit up and drained all the hot spring water Zaire used for bathing. and I were shocked to discover that at the spring's bottom there was a keyhole-shaped opening. Looking at the keyhole below, I instantly knew the Jupiter before us was the key to open it. I flew up and reached for Jupiter, but with a hiss white smoke rose from my hand. Zaire hurried over to me, heart aching as she saw my burned palm. I endured the pain and said seriously, "This Jupiter has face recognition. It probably only accepts you." Hearing that, Zaire slowly reached for Jupiter, then inserted it into the keyhole. The entire purple mountain planet trembled, and an illusory figure floated out. Then an ancient voice rang out, "Tides rise and fall. All things evolve by their own laws." I faced the spirit with full caution and asked the system to check his stats. Ding. Name Garcia, age unknown, race Xianying. Dimension level 7, state remnant energy. Seeing this remnant shadow had a level 7 dimension, I was deeply amazed. That was the level of supreme Kai and gods of destruction. "Girl, come here," Garcia kindly said to Zaire. From the remnant shadow, Zaire sensed a familiar pure aura, but she didn't dare go rashly, so she looked toward me, wanting to ask my opinion. After thinking a moment, I nodded. This remnant should be one of Zaire's ancestors, so he likely wouldn't harm her. Only then did Zaire walk toward the remnant shadow, bowing politely in greeting. Garcia seemed even more satisfied and nodded with comfort. "I am the founder of the Xianying clan." The old man's voice carried ages of history. Zaire's mouth fell open. The Xianying clan had existed for eons. "So you are the current Xianying leader?" Garcia's weathered voice sounded. Zaire obediently nodded. In the next second, from Garcia's figure, a ball of white mist drifted out and slowly merged into Zaire's body. As that pure energy fused with her, Zaire's aura instantly grew much stronger. Garcia sighed helplessly. I knew Xianying would suffer devastation, but I never expected even the frost demon trash race would dare bully the Xianying clan. Garcia then turned and studied me closely, letting out a puzzled sound. "Kid, your training talent isn't great, but you seem to have endless potential, still untouched. Strangest of all, I can't see your river of time." Hearing this, I asked in surprise, "Elder, have you mastered the power of space-time?" Garcia heard my question and smiled with satisfaction. "Kid, you do have some insight. Just for that, I accept you as the Xianying clan son-in-law." Space-time power was Garcia's proudest ability, so he couldn't help showing off. "I am one of the space-time managers, and also the previous god of time." Hearing that, my heart shook and couldn't calm down. The god of time was even more mysterious than destruction gods, with stranger powers too. A destruction god can erase you in this time space, but in other timelines you still exist. If the god of time erases you, you vanish from the river of fate itself. In every universe and every timeline you cease to exist. That terrifying power chilled me deeply. "Ancestor, where are you now?" Zaire asked with curiosity. Garcia smiled awkwardly. "I got tricked by that old brat Salama. This is energy I left behind to create a strong guardian for my clan and protect the Xianying people. I'm winning this bet for sure." Hearing Salama's name made me shiver again. The Namekian's Dragon Ball making ability was said to come from Dragon God Salama. My mind felt a little foggy. Ancient matters were truly tangled and mysterious. While I was thinking, suddenly an ancient ring flew toward me. I caught the ring and studied it carefully. It looked very old, with strange patterns carved into it. Garcia suddenly smiled mysteriously. "This is a space-time manager's ring. Now you're a temporary trainee manager. Whether the higher ones approve you depends on your own effort." Hearing this, I froze. It was a space-time manager token, a truly incredible thing. In Dragon Ball GT, Goku and Vegeta were chosen as space-time managers in the end. A gift from an elder cannot be refused, so I accepted the manager ring without hesitation. Garcia smiled mysteriously as a thicker wave of energy essence rose from his body again and fused together with Zaire's aura. Zaire stood in place, slowly absorbing the mysterious aura. Garcia then explained. "Jupiter awakens the energy I left behind and is also the key to Purple Mountain. As long as you hold Jupiter, you can control the whole planet for interstellar travel." Good heavens, taking an entire planet through space. Was this wandering Purple Mountain? Garcia's words shocked me completely. A sly smile appeared on Garcia's lips. "One last thing. A small evil aura is already coming here. You can't handle it yet." I instantly snapped out of my shock. "What evil aura? How strong is the energy?" Garcia laughed less than 500 million. Hearing his casual tone, my heart shook hard. Damn it. I'm already afraid of Frisia, and now I've provoked Cooler too. By now Zaire had absorbed the energy. I looked her over and didn't directly sense her battle power increasing, but her presence had changed slightly. Bloodthirsty chill hidden in her heart was replaced by purity. If I had to describe Zaire in 4 words now, it would be reborn pure. By habit, I checked Zaire's stats. Name Zaire, age 80, race Xianying. Dimension level 4. Battle power 1.2 million, level 4 already. I was beyond shocked. "Thank you, ancestor." Zaire bowed to Garcia and thanked him sincerely. Garcia nodded in satisfaction. "Lead the Xianying people and survive well. As long as you live better than those Namekians, then I win." With that, Garcia vanished before us. Hearing his words, I suddenly understood. So he had made a bet with the Namekians' ancestor. Actually, Salama had left the Namekians a backup too, but Namekians were all stiff-headed and never knew how to use Dragon Balls to improve their own lives. Jupiter had completed its mission. Landed in Zaire's hand. Now Cooler was coming, so Zaire and I had no other choice. We had to make the planet wander. After all, Cooler's battle power reached 470 million. Zaire closed her eyes and connected with Jupiter. Jupiter received the command, and the next second Purple Mountain began shaking, rushing fast into deep space. "Let's go to the Straw Hat Galaxy first. There's still a suffering race there. If I ignore them, they'll definitely be burned by Cooler's rage into cosmic dust." I opened the cosmic star map and pointed out the Straw Hat Galaxy's coordinates. Zaire nodded softly. "First we'll save Straw Hat Star, then head to the far west of the East Galaxy. The spirit fruit on planet Prot. I must obtain it." spirit fruit can raise battle power and replenish lost life energy too. My own dimension had risen, so my lifespan had grown too. But that didn't mean my friends didn't need it. Watching the people beside me grow old would be far too cruel. I stood at Purple Mountain's highest point when a chill suddenly hit my heart. Damn, Cooler had arrived. Purple Mountain was too big a target. If Cooler used destructive energy, Purple Mountain couldn't dodge it. There was no other choice. I had to go hold Cooler back. I locked onto his aura and teleported over. Right then, purple energy gathered at Cooler's fingertip, aimed straight at Purple Mountain. A red-violet beam shot out. Cooler was only in his first form now, but that blast held 500,000 power. I didn't dare get careless. I brought both hands together and fired a blue beam, blocking Cooler's death beam. Cooler glanced at me, a wicked smile curling his lips, as he asked in a dark voice, "Did you kill my armored squadron?" My main goal right now was buying time, so of course I had to distract Cooler. I answered with an innocent face, "What armored squadron? I've never seen them." However, Cooler's mouth suddenly curled into a cruel grin. "Forget it doesn't matter. Today I just feel like killing someone for fun." Seeing the killing intent around Cooler, I felt a chill. "Wait Cooler, don't you want to know who sent me?" I decided to trick Cooler one last time. Sure enough, he paused curiously. I laughed strangely and said arrogantly, "I serve Lord Frisia. Now your armored squadron is gone. Lord Frisia's Jinyu force will be #1 in the universe." After saying that, I laughed loudly, pushing the taunt as hard as I could. When Cooler heard I worked for his dear little brother, his anger became impossible to hold back. He flashed forward and attacked me. One light hit sent me flying away. With a full 300,000 power gap, I was no match for Cooler. Thankfully, I had already delayed him enough. Purple Mountain reached the Straw Hat Galaxy, picked up Shadama's people, then flew toward its next planned destination. On the battlefield, Cooler kicked me again and again. My eyes slowly turned hollow and unfocused. The breath of death was closing in. I had to risk it all. There was no other way now. Cooler kicked me hard in the stomach again, and I used the chance to vomit a huge mess onto his tail. He instantly broke down in disgust, rushing to a nearby stone pillar and rubbing his tail hard against it. I used the chance with trembling hands to put a senzu bean in my mouth. This was so humiliating, surviving only because of a move like that. After cleaning his tail, Cooler attacked again. I stretched out my hand, making a stop gesture. Cooler looked at me in confusion. I calculated the time. Zaire and the others should have escaped from Straw Hat Star by now, so my mission was complete. Goodbye, Cooler. Next time I'll deal with you properly. As my words fell, I vanished by teleportation. Cooler saw me disappear and froze right where he stood, searching constantly for my trace, but it was completely useless. By then, I had already appeared on a planet 500 light years away. Furious and humiliated, Cooler transformed into his final form. He flew toward where Purple Mountain had left, then gathered a massive energy wave and fired it in that direction. Despair rose in my heart. Cooler still refused to spare Purple Mountain. How could I possibly stop that energy? After a moment of silence, the system said I can spend massive energy to build an energy wall. It felt like I had grabbed hope. Energy can always be earned again, but lives matter most. I didn't hesitate and teleported in front of the death beam. At the same time, on Earth millions of light years away, Goku seemed to sense something and looked up at the sky with a grim face. Zaire's heart suddenly trembled too. She instantly used her spatial power and appeared beside me. I reached out and held Zaire's hand. My heart deeply moved at once as the system's energy barrier activated. With me at the center, a 2-meter circular shield formed, completely blocking Cooler's death beam. Using this chance, Jupiter led Purple Mountain into deep space while I held Zaire and used instant movement again. Cooler will come back for revenge soon. As those words fell, my figure vanished from the spot. Cooler returned to his ship furious. Actually dared cross the line. I'll tear that bastard apart. The Frost Demon clan reproduces without gender, so they have no real family affection. Frisia's expansion had been too fast these years, already upsetting King Cold and Cooler. Elsewhere, I appeared on an unnamed planet. As the system's voice sounded ding, 10 million energy consumed. Energy barrier has vanished. My heart was bleeding. I had finally gotten rich once, and now I was poor again. Luckily, the system wasn't too cruel. I still had 500,000 energy left, enough for 2 more months of VIP. A big batch of senzu beans would soon mature, with an estimated harvest of around 1,000. That meant another 500,000 energy. I quietly calculated it, and my bleeding heart finally felt some comfort. Let's rest here for now. Once Cooler is farther away, we'll chase Purple Mountain. I looked at Zaire curled in my arms like a kitten and said softly. Zaire nodded obediently. I took out a capsule and tossed out a modern house. Zaire stared at the sudden building, a little surprised, and couldn't help sighing. Earth technology is truly amazing. I held Zaire's hand and walked inside, casually saying, "It's just ordinary space technology." The room was bright inside, with every kind of modern furniture. After washing up, I held the soft, fragrant Zaire and drifted into sleep. 10 hours later, I stretched. After a good sleep following intense battle, my spirit had fully recovered. After enjoying a hearty meal, we finally prepared to chase after Purple Mountain. After 10 hours of flight, Purple Mountain had probably crossed over 100 stars. Constant teleportation burned too much energy, so I brought out the Phantom Starship. Target Purple Mountain full speed ahead. 2 days later, we finally returned there. Amid the cheers of the people, Zaire and I returned to the temple. My eyes were drawn to the stone slab above. It held a complete spacetime pattern. Then the spacetime ring flashed with light, illuminating the whole temple. The patterns on the slab began shifting again. After a long while they settled, I looked at the symbols on the slab, my heart shaking violently. My whole body trembled for a long time. Aren't these Chinese characters from Earth? Did another pioneer arrive before me? I thought silently, studying the slab word by word. In my mind, a smaller version of me appeared, practicing space-time energy. After hours of insight, the tiny figure in my mind suddenly fired a ki blast into the distance, and that blast moved straight forward. Suddenly a spacetime rift opened far away, and that same ki blast flashed out from it. Spacetime techniques are way too powerful. No enemy could ever block an attack like this. My eyes snapped open, copying the little figure in my mind. I gently punched toward the air. This time space only rippled slightly. Even so, I couldn't help laughing with excitement. The beginning is always hardest. As long as I keep practicing, one day, I'll fully master spacetime power. From now on my Destructo disc becomes a spacetime disc. This move will be every enemy's nightmare. I flew out of the temple, ready to test my new ultimate move. In my hand, I condensed a disc filled with spacetime energy, then threw it out fiercely. The Destructo disc shot forward, and a distant mountain split in two instantly. A faint smile rose on my lips as my cultivation deepens, and my spacetime power grows stronger. I'll truly be able to fight above my level. Time flowed like fine sand. Half a month passed. After 20 days of travel, Purple Mountain neared Northwest East Galaxy, and my battle power reached over 700,000. During these 20 days, I didn't spend all my time clinging to Zaire. The enemy was too strong, and the pressure weighed heavily on me. At the same time, I discovered the temple's spring water held extremely rich life energy. Though it couldn't match my senzu plantation, it was enough to grow senzu beans. So I followed Corinne's method and cut 2 branches from the mother senzu plant, then planted them there. If senzu beans could be grown in the temple, I'd gain another long-term energy source. At the same time, Shadama and Scar came to the temple to report the latest progress. Purple Mountain had contacted several living planets in Northwest East Galaxy and planned to form an interstellar federation. Everyone together recommended me as its first leader. Some planets would develop technology, while others cultivated magic, all growing together to resist outside threats. And finally I had time to find Tulls and seize the tree of might seed. Spirit fruit was like senzu beans. Each one could exchange for 500 energy, but its yield was shockingly huge. After all, it was born from draining an entire planet Zero seemed to have signs of spirit fruit, though it was only my guess. I still needed to investigate it. As for all of Purple Mountain's follow-up matters, everything had been arranged to develop slowly, so I went to Zaire to say goodbye. I need to leave for a while to search for things that can make me stronger. Zaire froze for a moment. She had been by my side all this time, and never imagined we would separate one day. Zaire held back the tears in her eyes, and said, "If you dare not come back, I'll go to Earth and find you."